So these are the checkerboard cookies you requested the recipe for. I do agree that they're delicious. I just don't like the way that they look. And I'll talk about that more in the video and how I'm gonna try to fix that. So here's what you need to make these. You'll need butter, you'll need confectioner sugar, also known as powdered sugar or icing sugar. You'll need granulated white sugar. You'll need flour, plain white flour. 4 eggs. You'll need vanilla. Now, you can use just regular vanilla, whether imitation or real vanilla. If you can, I recommend that you use clear vanilla for the vanilla part of the cookie because that keeps it even lighter in color. But the truth is that the difference is negligible. So if you don't bake a lot, you don't need to have both regular and clear vanilla. No problem. And yes, you can use imitation or real vanilla. You'll need salt. You will need Hershey's cocoa powder or any good quality cocoa powder. I really recommend that you use special dark or also known as Dutch process cocoa powder. While the standard cocoa powder does have uses, this one not only tastes better for this recipe, but it's going to give you a nice, rich, dark look. If you like the dark look and taste also of Oreo cookies, for example, that uses a dark cocoa. Please never use Nestle. It's the standard non-Dutch cocoa, and it also is the lowest quality. And then this is optional, but I really think it makes a difference. I add it to pretty much every chocolate thing that I make, espresso powder. Just like how salt helps sweet things taste even sweeter, a tiny pinch of espresso powder will make chocolatey things taste even chocolatier. You don't need to add enough espresso powder that the coffee flavor can be tasted. All right, we will get started here. My ingredients are all at room temperature, I should say. So I have 2 sticks of butter. They go into my stand mixer along with 1 cup of icing sugar. I have this beating on low speed so that I don't get sugar and my ingredients everywhere. Half of a cup of white granulated sugar. I will need to scrape down the sides because otherwise we're not going to get this evenly incorporated. All right, now that my butter and sugar is well creamed, we're going to crack our eggs. Now, never crack eggs onto the side of a bowl. You can force the eggshell back up into the white and the yolk. We never do that. Crack it on a flat surface. For this, we're going to use 1 whole egg, and we're going to use the yolk of the second egg only. Now, because I'm not really using that much egg, I'm actually not going to save the whites part here. But if I were making something that required me to put aside a lot of egg white, I would save it for something like meringues, or certainly when I use something that requires me to put aside a lot of yolks, I will save those for a hollandaise sauce or custard, or can make lemon curd or orange curd or something. So, okay, again, here we have 1 whole egg and the yolk of 1 egg. That's going to go in one at a time, mixer on low, get that incorporated. Okay, in goes about a teaspoon of vanilla. I did use the regular, like the colored vanilla. In goes half of a cup of our Dutch process cocoa powder and about a quarter of a teaspoon, even maybe less than a quarter of a teaspoon of my espresso powder. Again, that is optional. It's just going to bump up the flavor of your chocolate. Okay, I really want this to be well incorporated because once our flour goes in, it'll be harder to mix. So in goes a half of a teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to start to put in 2 cups of our plain flour or all-purpose flour. Now, at this point, My mixer must stay on low. I'm putting this in gradually, but this really can't mix very long. Scrape down the sides. The last thing that we want is tough cookies where the gluten has had too much time to develop and make chewy cookies. Nobody wants to eat chewy cookies. That's the second cup going in, little by little. Now you are going to have a really soft dough here. I took this off of the stand mixer and I will complete the mixing with my big spatula. Just don't want to have any big dry patches of flour. But little tiny patches is not a big deal, no problem. Rather have that than overworked flour. So what we'll do is we will use some cling wrap or saran wrap, some plastic wrap to cover, seal, and refrigerate this dough. I have put it into 2 separate discs. I have eyeballed them. If you want to be really precise, you would use a kitchen scale. And by using a disc shape rather than a ball shape, our butter-based dough is going to chill and firm up a lot faster. It'll also make it way easier to roll out when it's time to roll this out. So this goes into the refrigerator for, ideally you would want to keep it overnight, but I'm going to try putting it in for probably a couple hours. Okay, so that was our chocolate dough. Our vanilla dough is the exact same recipe, except that instead of, we're not going to use any espresso powder because it's not chocolate. This is vanilla dough. And instead of our cocoa powder, that half cup of cocoa powder, we will instead put in an additional cup, half of a cup, I should say, additional half of a cup of regular flour. Ideally, you would use clear vanilla for the vanilla portion of the cookie, but the difference is kind of negligible, so it's not a big deal. All right, so while you were away, I rolled out to 1/4 of an inch thickness and about 8 inches wide and tall these discs of dough. 4 discs, lay them on top of each other, and then that went back into the refrigerator for a couple of hours. I didn't put them in as long as I probably should have, and I think that would have helped a lot with the way that they cut and the way that they formed. But also, I can definitely say that if you go back to where I cut them, they cut much cleaner than they bake. Now, there really aren't a ton of leavening ingredients in here. Um, any kind of moisture is a leavener. Any egg is a little bit of a leavener. But we don't have baking powder, we don't have baking soda in here. So more or less these cookies stay as they are. But even still, um, they're going to spread a little bit, right, as they bake. Now, what I noticed as these cookies were in the oven is that if I had underbaked them, if I had taken them out before they were really done, um, they would have retained a lot of their more precise shape. But I let them bake until the point that they were like properly done, that I would want to eat them. And from what I see of other bakers, when they bake these checkerboard cookies, they bake them on a lower heat, and which, by the way, I baked mine at 350 for about 11 to 12 minutes. Um, they underbake them. Really, they don't bake them enough time. I would rather have something that tastes good. I mean, if it's a choice between does it taste good and does it look good, obviously I want something to taste good. I want it to look good too, though. So my project over the next couple months, because I have a lot of other projects, baking projects, to work with, is going to be to see how I can get very precise checkerboard cookies, get them to keep their perfect square shape, and that might have something to do also with the way that I roll them out. It might have something to do, I might need to play around with the recipe a little bit. We'll see. I really want very precisely shaped checkerboard cookies. I hope you like this. I hope you'll try it. I know you said that you really love these cookies, so I hope you enjoy. Take care. Bye.